Hey, what's up? Travel Chronicles, chapter 53 or 54, somewhere around there. Just want to give a quick update. I did finish the 6-pack in 30 days. It took me 44 days to do it, so an extra 2 weeks. But a lot of that's because kids were doing stuff, and there were just certain nights where it was horribly inconvenient to try to get to the workout. Now, I won't say I skipped like 14 days. Plus, you have like another 7 rest days in there. So, in 44 days, 14 days off, so like 21 days of rest, 23 days of workouts. So it amounts to like every other day, which is pretty good. And some days, like I would split the workout. I think it did like 2 or 3 times because the workouts at the end tended to get kind of long. I think the last one took me. It said 75 minutes on the thing, but it took close to an hour and a half. But I was distracted. I was watching The Dark Knight and the replay of, where I recorded of the Cleveland Browns game from last week. So I still haven't quite finished that yet. But that's what I was doing. I was a little distracted, but it was a very intense, hard workout. But it's done. I do not have a 6-pack yet, so I'm gonna do it again. I think. Maybe just try to get the timing to where I'll have more of an opportunity. I'm not sure when that'll be exactly. When I would have that. So I'm going to try to start this weekend again and see how I can do. I just want to take like 4 or 5 days off, let everything kind of rest and recover in the core area. Maybe start on Saturday or Sunday. Or I can get. I should probably start on Friday because that would line up with Monday as a rest day. We'll see. I may wait till Saturday just to get a little extra break. But a couple things for today. One, COVID. It continues to be around and be a thing. It has not gone away yet. But looking at the numbers, I've been looking at worldometers, and they keep track of, the daily cases, how many total cases are in the U.S., active cases, and the death rate, and total number of deaths. So looking at that page, we're around like 2.5 million active cases, right? There's been like 7 million total cases in the U.S., 200,000 deaths. It's less than 5% death rate, and the 2.5 million active cases is probably not even going to be 5% deaths. So you're looking at like the serious cases are like 1%. And if you go back to the beginning of this whole thing, the whole idea was, the social distancing, the masks, the closing everything down, was to flatten the curve. But that's what we're told. Like, we want to flatten the curve. Well, you can see where the spike occurred. I mean, it happened in the summer. There was an initial spike in March. Then there was another spike in July or so, whenever they increased the testing. Shocker. But, the death rate spike was actually very early on. And there might have been like a second kind of wave, but not near the size of the first one, where people were kind of caught off guard and weren't sure how serious to take it. But the second wave was basically nothing. I'm not saying basically nothing. It was less than the first one. And now we're on the downhill again. So we flattened the curve. Things do what they're supposed to do. They've flattened it out, and I think really they should look at time to move on. But they're not going to do it before the election. But the other thing is, on that Worldometer site, the thing that doesn't make any sense is the active cases in the U.S. Because we were adding cases in early July or late July, 2 months ago, at a rate of 70,000 a day. 70,000 a day. We're adding that number of cases, and the number it went up. And there was a little bit of a lag, while you're picking up these cases and things aren't quite falling off. But you're telling me that even if you took all of the active cases and said nobody in the last, and I think it was like 45 days or 50 days has been cured. That would get us to 250,000. There was zero resolution, and you've had deaths in there, right? So you may have had 30,000 deaths in the last month and a half, 40,000 deaths. I'm not sure what the number is, but that's like a day or two of counting. So you're looking at like 46, 48, maybe almost 50 days worth of cases to get to that 2.5 million, and nobody. There's been zero resolution in that time period. We got up to 2.5 million, and it stayed there for the last 2 months, even though the case rate is dropping. What we're adding back into that number, but the other numbers are coming down. So to me, there's a disconnect there. And I was looking at the Johns Hopkins site. Like, they have some of the states where cases have been resolved, in a positive manner. Ohio has like all their cases. There's like a minimal amount of cases that are active cases. You look at a state like California, the only resolved ones are the ones from death. So they have like 400 and some thousand cases out there with no resolution. So you're telling me since the beginning of this thing, nobody's been cured of coronavirus in your state. Nobody has been, oh, you're fine. No. It's like, once you have it, now you have it for the rest of your life, and it's an active case for all of eternity. Like, there's a huge disconnect, and it's really weird because, like, Texas has a number, Florida has a number, New York doesn't have a very good number. It's like 17,000. Come on. In New Jersey, the number's low. It's all of these Democratic strongholds. It's really, really weird. It probably shouldn't be in a political year, but they want to keep all these numbers like as high as possible coming to the election. But there should be an adjustment here at some point to correct for the number of cases that have gone in that one were false positives, because I'm sure they haven't corrected those. And for people that were asymptomatic, like, how long do you keep an asymptomatic person on that list? 2 weeks, a week, forever? What's the breaking point? And that's what's kind of frustrating with this, is there's no rules and there's no logic really put into it. And part of that is because of the election, because people are fighting back and forth, like, oh, we need to show these numbers as bad as possible to help influence the election, and other people are like, hey, we need to make these numbers as good as possible to help our side. And they can't remove themselves from that process to actually put down, good, sensible rules that make sense when you're counting these cases. So to me, that's a little bit of a problem that needs to be fixed, and it'll have to be fixed, after the election. Obviously, nobody's going to change anything right now. We don't even know what we're doing. So it's a little frustrating, especially when you're looking at these numbers and like, hey, why aren't we opening stuff up? Stuff is open for the most part, but like, still restaurants are restricted and sporting events are restricted, and it's a joke. It's literally a joke. We had to cancel a game against one school last night, volleyball, because their district's in the yellow because one teacher got sick or something. Maybe there's multiple people. I'm not sure what the rules are for being a different color in a different county, different state, but ends up, impacting like the games on the court. So we scheduled a game with somebody else. We played a different school, and the game actually went to 5 sets, which is the next one. I'll just talk about it real quick and then be done. I'm kind of off of the COVID stuff. I mean, it's nonsensical stuff to me. If somebody's sick, get them out of there. I guess if somebody's been exposed to it, then that's fine if you want to limit their exposure. But now that same school is going to play football on Friday. So it's not okay to play volleyball on Tuesday, but it's okay to play football on Friday. Give me a break. Give me a break. The volleyball game. And this is probably the last time I'm going to talk about this, because it absolutely drives me nuts. And I talked about it earlier this week. These high school kids, boys, girls, whatever the sport, you can't come into a game knowing who's going to be good, who's going to be bad that particular night. And it should be a basis of all right, who's our opponent? Or like in cross country, what course are we running? You know, what's the conditions? You know, where's the other team good at? Where are they bad at? And you know, who's feeling good? You know, who did the prep work? Who's had a good warm up? You know, who's feeling good today? And in volleyball, you get the benefit of watching some of the players in the JV game, see how they play there. And if somebody's, you know, playing well in JV, and you get to the varsity game, and the varsity players you held out to play just the varsity game, if they're not doing well, put the JV kids in. Like, I mean, are we trying to win games, or are we just trying to let people play? I don't know. You know, if I'm coaching, I'm trying to win. I want to win a game. You know, these kids are out there, they put their time in, they want to win. So whoever's going to give me the best effort that night is the one who's going to play. And it's not an effort to drive kids out of the sport, because, you know, you may have your night next week or next game. But if this other kid is playing a great game, let's ride that kid. You know, plus it's going to be good experience for them, because they're running around making plays, making good plays, and you can let them play. So they're going to get a good feeling about themselves. But, you know, on the same token, you know, even though you don't consider volleyball an endurance sport, by the time you get to the fifth set, like, some of these girls don't have the conditioning they should be playing in that fifth set. And, you know, it's just my thoughts. You know, you still have to be conditioned to go out there and run around for 5 sets worth of games, you know, and especially if they're tight games. If every team's scoring 20 every set, that's a lot of points. It's like 200 points by the time you get to the fifth set, almost. You know, maybe 180, 150 points have been scored where you're running around. So, you know, whatever the sport is, you come in. Yeah, I understand you picked your kids in the preseason. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, who I think is going to be good on a nightly basis. Fine. You want to play them first, see if they're doing any good. Good. But I'm just telling you, any given night, one of those kids can have a bad night, or 2 of them can have a bad night. And you can have 2 kids, you know, 8, 9, 10, 11. One of those kids could be cooking and be better than 6. Could be better than 5. And I think a good coach is going to go down through the lineup, try to find that good kid, get him in there, and get the most out of him. That's going to be the best for all scenarios and give you the best chance to win the game. All right, that's all I got. Be COVID free. See you later.